Welcome. You're just seconds away from the Brian Brawdy Show, where listener participation is strongly encouraged. Well, unless, of course, you're easily triggered, then listener discretion is strongly advised. And if you fall into the latter camp, why don't you just mortal up already?
You're listening to the Brian Brawdy Show here on RadioBri.com. Unfettered, unfiltered, unafraid.
Certainly an old-looking scroll. If you're looking at the thumbnail, welcome to the Brian Brawdy Show. Thank you for joining us for episode 545, and it's called Worth the Read. And you know, this morning, a little story that I wanted to share with everyone. This morning, let me ask you this. You ever one of those situations where you just think like all of life is aligned against you? You know, the alarm goes off and you reach over and you pound the snooze button so hard it's a wonder the alarm clock even survives the encounter. And you're just like, I can't even begin to think about today. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to face it. I'm just going to sit here under the covers. Do you ever have one of those days? Well, it kind of happens from time to time to me as well. And this morning I got up, as is the case. I normally get up around, 4:30, somewhere around in there, whenever my eyes open. I get up and I have a little morning ritual where I hop into the car. I go to my local Stop and Rob to get my favorite morning drink. And in case you're not familiar with the term Stop and Rob, left over from law enforcement, the bad guys and the bad girls wanted places that they could get in or pull their car up, go in going, I'd like a Snickers bar and a pack of smokes. They rob the place because they know they can hop back in their car and then take off. So it's left over, very near and dear to my heart. Calling them Stop and Robs. So I head over to my little Stop and Rob, get what I need to jumpstart my day, get my head wrapped around, take care of the dog, just get out and about and do what I got to do. Well, this morning, I don't have my normal hat on. For whatever reason, I forgot to wear my hat. So I go over to this local Stop and Rob, and let's call her Candace, the name of a name. So I don't have my hat on, so my scar from the shunt is pretty visible. And I bend over as I get ready to pay my drink, and the young lady behind the counter says, "Oh, that's an interesting scar." And I said, "Yeah, I've got a handful of them. I say from time to time I got more head scars than most Vikings." And she goes, "Oh, well, what's it from?" And I said, "Oh, I had a brain tumor and multiple surgeries and a shunt." And she goes, "Ah." And I could tell she was really interested. I couldn't figure out why. She had a full head of hair. Everything was going good. She's a beautiful young lady, very energetic and the like. And I said, "Oh, why? Do you have a family member or a loved one that has a shunt?" And she said, "Believe it or not," ready for this? "I've had 7 shunts, over 25 brain surgeries. And it's been tweaked, right? I talk about the hockey puck. It's just a little magnet that they put on top of the shunt to get the opening to be the right way." Now, this young lady has hydrocephalus and just dozens of surgeries. And I said, "Oh, I remember what that shunt was like. I remember the hockey puck. I remember the adjustments. I didn't do well in the rain." And I asked her, I go, "Well, how are you doing?" And she goes, "Some days," and here's the word that, obviously she caught my attention with what we were speaking about. She goes, "Some days are just brutal," which reminded me of where I came up with the term, you got to out-brutal the brutal. She goes, "Some days are just brutal. The pressure is so great." Now, in addition to all the brain surgeries, all the shunts, all the tweakings, she's got the scars, right, in the front of her stomach where they reach in to kind of pull the shunt down to make sure it can dump. If you have hydrocephalus, they want to be able to dump the spinal fluid into your stomach. Then she turns around and motions in the back. She's been cut twice just above the kidneys in the back because they wanted to try to drain the spinal fluid from the spine herself. Because if the shunt on the top of her head wasn't working, it would allow them to drain the spinal fluid to help with some of the pressure headaches. Like when it's going to rain, she just said it's excruciating. So she turns around and motions to her back. to tell me where she had been cut. And I said, well, I'm not inclined to pull my shirt up and show you, but I absolutely know what it's like. I just joke with people that I was gut in a knife fight in Tibet. Let me say hello to Lee. Lee, thank you so much, brother. Out brutal the brutal. Absolutely, indeed. Nice to see you, Lee. Or at least nice to see your icon. Is that what it is? Your Vivita. What is it? I forget even what it's called. But so here I am. I'm talking to this young lady. We'll call her Candace. And she says, no, it's been horrible. But now here the young lady gets up. She makes it to work. She beats me there, right? She just had an absolutely, as Lee says, out brutal the brutal attitude. So have you ever been in that situation where you go, oh, I want to find the silver lining in whatever cloud? And you think, oh, I've had 5 brain surgeries. Oh, I've had all these shunts. Oh, I've had the debilitating headaches. Oh, it's been so bad sometimes I can't even open my eyes. Oh, I have all these troubles with my balance. Oh, I've had all these bouts of transglobal amnesia, right? Avatar. Thank you, Shane. Nice to see you. Thank you very much. Nice to see your avatar. Shane, it's nice to see your avatar as well, brother. And so you get that, and then you find yourself, I'm listening to this young lady, we'll call her Candace, talk about multiple brain surgeries, multiple shunts replacements, being carved all over her. And I'm thinking to myself, Bri, where the hell do you get off complaining about anything in life? 5 brain surgeries, so what? Right? Where do I get off telling anyone about the headaches, telling everyone about how tough it was? Here was a young lady who's had 5 times the brain surgeries, probably 10 times the cuts to be able to maneuver the hose where they're going to dump the spinal fluid. And guess what? I was able to get rid of the shunt. They were able to eventually patch me up in the back, right? My horseshoe-shaped scar that I have to show. They were able to patch me up in the back. But this young lady's got to hit the ground running every day. She's got hydrocephalus. There isn't a cure for it. So she has a life of having to out brutal the brutal. So I guess my question would be, right, since we're talking about worth the read, if your life, if your endeavors, the things that you do day in and day out, if it's worth the read, you and I have it a lot better, right? We list the things, right? We unroll the scroll. We go, I got this going against me. I got that going against me. All this is stacked, right? As I say all the time, stacked against me. How about this young lady? And still, she out-brutals the brutal, and she did it with a smile on her face. She was there to greet me bright and early, and you never heard her complain. You never heard her cry about it. She was just like, no, I know what you were going through. So that's my question. When you look at your life, is it as uphill as you think? Or maybe are some of the uphills nothing more than a little anthill? Because compared to this young lady, I'm embarrassed to even say I get headaches from time to time. So what, Muffin? Just zip it and get on with your day, I find myself saying to my reflection in the mirror. So I got to ask, are there times where you just beat up yourself? Are you times where that still small voice, right? Does that still small voice continue to just beat you up, to do everything it can to get you to tap out? And then maybe you and I, maybe there's something else. Maybe we should look at it. Maybe our life is worth the read. Maybe we don't have all the different things that we think we have that are aligned against us, because this poor lady certainly was just bringing it. That's the question that I had for you. Is it worth the read? All right, Wayne, I know that we're going to get ready to run to our 10-minute very, very quickly. Let me say hello to you. How's everything going? What have you been up to?
It's going good.
Just going good?
Trying to keep tabs of what the heck's going on in this world.
I know. It's like crazy everywhere. The mashugana is full on, right? As Shane says, someone always has it worse than you. Look at the bright side whenever you can. Absolutely, Shane. And that's what I learned from my interaction with Candace, was that I want to talk about how brutal life's been to me. It's been nothing compared to what Candace has had to put up with. And she's doing it with a smile on her face. Wayne, how about you? I know we're going to run to a break, then we'll come right back. You can tell me, are there any times where you find yourself just beating up on yourself, and then you go and you stop and you go, hey, it's not as bad as I thought it would? Nah, good for you, brother. All right, we're going to run to the 10. We will be right back.
The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of anyone else tied to the show. We should just say that. All right, Wayne, what's the first thing up? What are we going to do? I'm very excited about today's show. Working our first day back. What are we going to do?
The phone lines are open. Now's your chance to mortal up and give Brian a shout because your opinion deserves to be heard. Dial toll-free 1-833-MORTAL-1. That's 833-MORTAL-1.
All right, don't forget, you can also send us a text if you like, 833-667-8251 if you're into the numbers. And, of course, you can send us an email, brian@radiobry.com. Always excited to hear from you, figure out what you got going, what's new, what's exciting, how you're making it through the day. As Wayne says, very, very crazy times. Thank you, Wayne, for posting the feed over here on Facebook. Let me say hello to everyone listening here on Facebook, also the people listening over on YouTube. Thanks for making us one of the fastest growing midday, right? Dealing with the midday mashugana that is the world that we live in. People, everything's being closed down, everything. I love this one that I saw earlier, Wayne, that says, oh, we're not doing a lockdown. We're just going to do a pause. We're going to, like, the word pause is less offensive, but we're so much more gullible that we would chafe, right, against the confines of a lockdown. So now the governors, these brainiacs, have decided, oh, we're just going to do a pause. Just a pause, not a real lockdown, just a pause. It's crazy.
Yes, it is.
And I will tell you that some of the situations that I'm involved in here, the schools are preemptively, maybe it's happening where you are, the schools are preemptively going, look, we saw the reports of everybody heading to the airport. Nobody's listening to the CDC. Everyone thinks Who is a rock band. No one's paying attention to any of it. So we're just going to go ahead and start shutting down some schools because we know, right, these 7,000 people that got together in a synagogue for a wedding, right? We know you guys aren't going to listen to the politicians. Oh, from your lips to God's ears. We know you're not going to follow the rules set out by the CDC, right? We know you're not going to do it. So we're just going to go ahead and start closing down in advance. And I saw this morning, Wayne, I think you even told me about it, where the airports are packed full of people, right? So nobody's working. Nobody's working to make that happen.
All
Just
right,
packed.
I think we got a call coming in.
All right. Hello, caller from New Mexico. Who's this?
Hey, this is Shane. How's it going, Brian?
Hey, Shane, great. How are you, brother? What's new and exciting?
Well, same stuff, different day.
I gotcha. What's so anything really new in your neck of the woods, or how's the bike riding going? You still out there mortaling up, biking in the mountains?
Yeah, I'm trying. My knees are shot from multiple years of martial arts, so there's days where they're just not having it, but I give it a go nonetheless.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we were talking about that a little bit ago. Thank you for by the way, for mentioning the word avatar. I would have missed that altogether. But you ever have those days where you go, look, I've got an uphill battle coming, and then compared to someone else's battle, you're like, man, I don't have a battle at all.
Yeah. Well, with all of this COVID nonsense, things have changed quite a bit for me and my family. I've been home since March, taking care of two teenage boys as they try homeschooling and eat everything that's in sight. But I lost my position as a manager that I worked 10 years to get. But I'm still employed. So to your point, every Monday morning I'm like, oh God, here we go again. I got to get up and do this thing. But then I think, you know what? 3/4 of my team were laid off. So I am, I struggle every Monday morning and sometimes Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday mornings to get up. But I'm fortunate that I still have employment and that my family is still healthy. and my wife is still working. So,
Sure.
like I was saying, you gotta find some bright side in everything, especially nowadays.
And I think there are a lot of people that are doing that, Shane. As you know, I call it mortal up, to look at the cards that are stacked against you and figure out how to scale the stacked against you, right? How to find the upside of being an underdog. Right. And that's the essence of what mortal up is. And it sounds like you're doing it, especially if you have two teenage boys going to the pantry and the refrigerator about 5 times every 20 minutes, right? And I can imagine you got to figure out how to circle the wagons.
Right. Well, again, I'm thankful that I still have work and that I'm able to provide so they can go to the pantry 5 times every 20 minutes and eat me out of everything that I have.
I know. And when it comes at a time, Shane, where a lot of people have been telling me that the price in grocery stores has gone up, right? Like, I'm the worst. Like when someone says, well, how much is a gallon of milk? What would they ask President Bush one time way back when? How much is a gallon of milk? I couldn't tell you. I get my 59-cent little fountain drink every morning. I couldn't tell you what a gallon of milk goes for, but are the prices going up? Do you see that that's a part of the uphill as well?
Well, I mean, it seems like there's almost price gouging going on, like they're taking advantage, at least early on. Sure. I think now it's kind of leveled out, and everybody is starting to get a bigger picture that, hey, we're all in this together, whether you believe in this whole thing or not, or whether, you think it's all a big, government scam or whatever. Why take the risk?
Sure.
Why be defiant about it just to put your family in danger,
Right.
So,
well, it's something I think about every day, Shane.
It's leveled out.
Sure. And how's the rush on toilet paper in your neck of the woods?
Well, it was fine up until last Thursday or Wednesday, I think, when the New Mexico governor decided starting today, he is essentially shutting the state down for 2 weeks. So Friday and all this weekend, you couldn't go to a single store, Walmart, Sam's, big box stores, grocery stores, anywhere without a line wrapping all the way around the building.
God.
And the people coming out with at least, with the big box club, you get the huge thing of toilet paper. And then at the grocery store, thankfully, my grocery store closest to my house, they put a limit, like 2 packages per family or whatever.
Right.
So
you just got to send your son in undercover. You got to send your sons in undercover to make sure, that they're able to get some, right?
Yeah,
Tell them to put down the Funyuns,
we're no
put down the Fig
starting
Newtons.
to use wash rags anytime.
Yeah. Oh, please. I grew up using pine cones. I know that's a part of the, it was uphill, walking to school in the snow, uphill with polar bears kind of thing, right? Right? That kind of thing. But, okay, look, if you spend any time out in the wilderness, you know how to do what you got to do with a tree leaf. That's what I'm saying. But I guess maybe we're so out of touch. I guess we're out of touch. All right, Shay, we're getting ready to let you go. Any other parting words of wisdom? And I like what you said earlier, if I could just get you to comment on that a little bit about going, look, whether you believe in this or not, whether you think it's a government plan, and people ask me all the time, I happen to believe that this was constructed. Now, I'm not saying it was nefariously done, but the Chinese government knew about this long before they let on. Right? But however you want to look at how this began, we're in the thick of something now that the Chinese government was responsible in terms of helping the spread. And I'm like the canary in the coronavirus coal mine, right? With all the different surgeries I've had of late, they're like, your immune system is shot there, Taco Bell. But the last thing you need to be doing is running around licking doorknobs in public restrooms. And I go, oh, damn, that was such a pastime of mine, right? But I say to people all the time, and tell me how I'm wrong, Shane. I say to people, don't pick your nose. Don't clean out your teeth with the fingernail of your pinky. And stop treating your face like it's the touchpad, right, on an ATM machine. And right? So I think what happened is some of the personal responsibility is have a little bit of hygiene. Is it true that the Wuhan Wheeze can withstand 55 miles an hour on a car handle? Does it have the shelf life of a Hostess Twinkie? Is it really a nocturnal predator so they can close everything down like they did here in Ohio? They can close everything down at 10 p.m. Why is this thing more of a predator at night than it is during the day? What are your thoughts on it before we let you go?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. At this stage in the game, I mean, everybody watches the news. Everybody sees the numbers going up, people getting sick. It's hitting humans of all ages. At this stage in the game, who cares how it started?
Right.
Who cares how it spread? Who cares how it is currently spreading? You take the knowledge, you do what's best for you and your family, and you move forward.
Yep.
Period.
It's called personal responsibility, Shane, but it's personal responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Stop pointing fingers. Stop playing the blame game.
Sure. Stop using your fingernails to clean your teeth. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Have some self-respect for yourself, your family, and other human beings, and suck it up, Buttercup, until there's a cure.
I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, Shane, thanks so much for calling. The best as always. Thank you for the Avatar hit earlier, and the best to all your family. And we will hope to speak with you soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks so much, Shane. Farewell. All right. So that was Shane calling from New Mexico. He's just telling us, hey, you know what? As he said in the feed, you always got to look. It could be worse than it is. And I guess why I start off every show, why I start off every day, because the shows are really a microcosm of my day. I start off every day going, this is the greatest time in the history of the world to be alive. And I posted something up yesterday where, right, if you think about it, well, you know what? Let's just do this. Wayne, have we done the Mortal Up Minute yet?
No, we haven't.
Oh, we haven't. Can we do the Mortal Up Minute? Because that'll help. We'll do that until we get to the bottom of the hour. Let's do that real quick.
Sure.
95% of the world's problems stem from a widespread pandemic of toxic sensitivity, where our ears, overly tuned to be triggered, take offense and outrage to damn near everything. Imagine for a moment you're headed to the South Pole, dead of winter. You'd do anything you could to dress warm, cocooning yourself to prevent frostbite and freezing. Heavy, hooded, and down-filled jackets and pants, insulated mittens, waterproof boots, the thickest of socks to shield you from the frigid temperatures, right? You do what you could to trap your body's naturally occurring heat, keeping the frigid out, conserving your inner 98.6. Yet when it comes to weathering outside complaints and criticisms, we let it all in. I'm Brian Brawdy reminding you that when it comes to slings and arrows, dress for success and mortal up. Alternative is like facing the Arctic winds, right, the polar winds with your T-shirt off and your jacket wide open. But the function of mortal up, and it's the same here, it's a sense of personal responsibility. And people go, oh, well, you voted for this person, you voted for that person. Look, all I've ever voted for one way or another is personal responsibility. Stop looking for the government, for any government. Stop looking for them to be your savior. As Shane says, you got to be responsible for yourself, your family, some friends, neighbors is the way I look at it as well. But right, stop looking outside of yourself. What the pandemic is this toxic sensitivity to everything going on in the world. No, learn how to dress for success. Heard an infuriating commercial this morning. They now want to sell you a tie, like a suit and a tie. You ready for this? A tie, Wayne, that matches your face mask. A tie that matches your face. So they've already mainstreamed this sense of a lack of personal responsibility. And we talk all the time. I said yesterday, fear is the greatest depressor of your immune system. What kind of life do you and I truly have if we're constantly in fear of losing it? Crap happens. Right? It's always the final hour. Death's always right around the corner for us. I think back, and hopefully no one from this person's family is listening because I don't want to open any wounds, but a few years back, a person walking in downtown Chicago on the Magnificent Mile, the wind kicked up, dislodged a brick from up top, fell I don't know how many stories, and it hit this person square in the top of the head, killed him instantly. 1 foot forward or 1 foot back, and the brick probably would have broken a toe. Or if it had been behind him, missed him altogether. But in that particular moment, in all of time, fate was gunning for that person. They took a brick to the top of the head. Check, please. They're out of here. So all I'm simply suggesting is that every moment that you and I are still here is a great moment to be alive. Absolutely fantastic time to be able to thrive, because you never know. Death is always around the corner. But you and I can't afford to have a depressed immune system in times like this, and fear is the greatest pathogen. The greatest attack on your immune system comes from you being overly timid, comes when we're overly afraid. Comes, and we don't need a lesson in fight or flight. Everyone knows what that's about now, and I'm simply suggesting that you're a lot tougher than you believe. Candace at my local Stop and Rob, a lot tougher than she looks. And the silver lining is just this. If you're still here, you have the ability to confront fate head on, to square your shoulders, and once and for all mortal up, because it's never as bad as we think. It's never as bad as we hear, at least if we're still here to hear it. And that's the point of mortal up. Dress for those things. As Shane said, make sure you're able to do what you need to do in order. He says, damn straight, make sure you're able to do what you need to do to protect yourself, your family, and your friends. Have some personal responsibility. Stop relying on the government. Now I'm hearing, Wayne, that they're like, oh, well, you get a rebate, or the governor's asking you if you see someone violating these lessons to call police. So now, Wayne, speaking of your video of last week, now they're encouraging people not only to be timid, but they want them to be snitches as well. Look, if you want to lock yourself down, you gotta have a basement or a storm cellar. Look, it's your fault if you didn't buy a house with an attic. You want to lock yourself down, lock yourself down. But now the government wants to pay you to be a snitch? Well, I don't know. If you see anyone breaking our COVID-19 pauses. It's not a lockdown. It's not a restriction. It's a pause. We're just hitting the pause button, Wayne. We're just hitting the pause button. So now they're encouraging people to be snitches. Snitches. Where do you think the term came from? Ask anyone that's ever been in jail, anyone that's ever been to prison. How long does a snitch last? Not very long. And all I'm simply suggesting is for us to be afraid, for us to be timid, for us to be easily triggered every time someone on social media or the mainstream media or a politician goes, run away, be afraid, be very afraid. Your immune system just took another shot to the chest. Don't let that happen. You're better, you're tougher, you're stronger, you're faster, you're smarter than that. All right, Wayne, I know we're getting ready to run. Shane says all that does is incite violence and makes things worse. Shane knows what it's like to identify a snitch. That's all I'm saying. But now your governments, they want you, the governors are going, oh, we'll pay people. If they call, we're encouraging people to call the police. Well, the police, most of the police, I shouldn't say most, Wayne, right? But there are a lot of sheriffs that are going, don't call us. We don't want to hear your mashugana. We're not going to be sticking around.
You know, like I said, history repeating itself.
That's what you said. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
The Nazi
Tracy,
SS.
I'm sorry?
The Nazi SS.
Think about it.
Used to sit in movie theaters behind the citizens.
Yep.
To listen to their conversations so they can turn them in.
Yeah, I sent you a link the other day. Well, I will tell you a story right after the break. Let's do this. I want to say hello to Tracy. Tracy says there are 3 internment camps in Manitoba, Canada. I kid you not, she says. All right, Wayne, let's run to the break. I want to talk about that because the Cultural Revolution, the Purge in Mao's time, same kind of thing. I'll tell you about my story, one of my stories in Tiananmen Square when we come back. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Brian Brawdy Show. Why? Because you know the truth when you hear it. He'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Brian Brawdy Show, brought to you by our good friends at Counterpunch Media and Certifiable Brilliance. It's time to buckle up. Time to buckle up. I should have said there it's time to mortal up, right? It's the same thing though, right? Mortal up, tomato, tomato, mortal up, buckle up. Just remember who you ultimately are and don't let anybody browbeat you into fear. Now, Tracy had said there are 3 internment camps in Manitoba, Canada. I kid you not. I'll tell you, Wayne, what you said about where they would sit people behind at movie theaters to try to snitch on you and let the government know what you were doing. Last time I was in Tiananmen Square in China, my escort, I guess you would say, escort, handler, whatever it is, right? Like a person that, like Uber before Uber was popular. It's the person that drives you around, the person that gets you to where you need to go while you're there, said, oh, in Tiananmen Square, you got to be really quiet. Be careful what you say. There's super sensitive listening devices. There's people mulling around. You may not even know it, but you got to be really careful what you say. Honest to God. And now that's happening in this country, Wayne?
It certainly is.
You talk about history repeating itself. The history of the snitch. So now we're going to start, what are we going to go back to witch burnings where people snitch out on their neighbors to be burned at the stake or thrown in a pond with a boulder? A snitch is a snitch. And I got to tell you, in the grand scheme of things, snitches rate right up there with book burners in my mind. You might as well be a snitch or a fact checker on Mug Pamphlet. Right? You might as well be a snitch or a witch burner. It's the snitch or witch. It's the same thing in my mind. Who would rat out a fellow? Now, if you're saying, oh, well, you know, you got to be a snitch. No, that's a witness. If you see someone like this poor kid that was killed overnight, which is another thing. Okay, I know, Wayne, I don't want to get too far off topic because you and I were talking about some things right before we went there. So let's try to get back on track. Let's do the next thing that we have, and then we'll do the next thing that we have. And if we have time, I'll tell you about my oh, please moment where I just heard a sound clip from Joe Biden saying, now look, let me just put this as a disclaimer. I couldn't give a crap about who you voted for. I couldn't. God love you. God love you, whoever you voted for. I'm simply saying that this clip says, we have to stop assaults in this country. So I need to go after assault weapons. Hey, Wayne, I'm curious. When's the last assault? In the last 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, all the homicides going. You got a nut in New York City running around with a flamethrower. When's the last time an assault weapon was used? Has an assault weapon been used? A quote unquote an assault weapon. Now he wants to attach fines, even on high capacity magazines. I got to tell you, Wayne, these people in the high capacity, you know what I've started to come to grips with?
What's that?
Everybody and their brother wants high capacity. Do you know why they want a high capacity magazine?
Why is that?
Because they can't aim and pull the trigger worth a crap. I don't need 21 rounds to take you out.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? All right, I said we weren't going to go down on the oh, please, but come on. Really, we look at it as retractable clause around here. All we're saying is the Second Amendment is a reminder of the first place responsibility that you have, like Shane says, that you have to defend, to protect yourself, your family, and your friends. That's all I'm saying. Oh, well, we're going to do a mandatory buyback. How is it a mandatory buyback? How does that work, Wayne? It's a mandatory. Oh, but we're going to buy them back. Oh, so we're going to make it mandatory to give you money to surrender your Second Amendment right. Ah, there you go. Congrats. No, really, really fantastic. You should be very, very proud of that as an idea, especially at a time, Wayne, where violence of all kinds is through the roof. But you know what I found interesting? I did a little bit of reading this morning. I know it's not good for me, Wayne, especially when I read and then I don't clear it with you first. But you know what I read this morning?
What's that?
Number one group of people applying for permits, purchasing firearms, all that, women and minorities.
Oh, absolutely.
Not minorities like me, not Irish, right? Not minorities like me, Irish and with a hair lip. Not minorities like me, Irish, hair lip, more head scars than most Vikings. But it's up, and it's up because of all these lunatics wanting to defund the police. Well, you're busy defunding the police. Who's going to stand up to evil? Who's going to out-brutal the brutal? Tracy says here in the feed on Facebook, and let me just thank everybody. Thank you for being with us on YouTube. Thank you for being with us here on Facebook and, of course, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify. I really appreciate having you here. Tracy says, our premier elected guy that runs the province, thank you, Tracy, very much, has hired GS4. Oh, I don't like GS4. Oh, Wayne, we're going to need 2 hours of a show today. Don't get me started on GS4. To enforce these horrid COVID rules from the snitch line. 1-800, just call us and rat out your neighbor. We should see if we can get that number, Wayne. 1-800, rat out your neighbor. We currently cannot have anyone into our homes that doesn't live there. Can you imagine enforcing that? Tracy says. All right, Wayne, I know we got to run to a segment, but that was my impromptu, oh, please. Are you kidding me? Now they even want to take the ability for you to defend your own family? They're going to defund the police, make it impossible. This whole thing about, oh, well, don't worry. If we get in trouble, we'll just call 911. Well, what happens when 911 is busy? What happens, Wayne, when 911, when so many people have called in, there's not enough paramedics, there's not enough police, there's not enough firefighters to respond to your call. Forget about defunding the police. There are not enough firefighters to respond to your call. You better be prepared to say to your family, get behind me. Right? Which was the birth of me saying, when you can't call on anyone else, can you call on yourself? Can you do that? All right, Wayne, let's run to our next little soiree midday. Lowlifes making headlines, or as we like to call it around here, brains that make your blood boil. Here's your brittle brain atop a balsa wood spine for today. Oh, what do you got queued for us? Today's lowlifes. Oh, wait a minute. I know these two faces. Wait a minute. Oh, thank you, Wayne, for putting the name in there. Governor Newsom. Wait a minute. I recognize that face. That's the guy who said no one else could go out to a public place for dinner. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, that's the face. That's the guy that when he got caught said, oh, no worry, nothing to see here. It was outdoors. But that's the guy. That's the face, Wayne, I recognize, where they had a picture of him taken with a group of people sitting inside a building. And guess what, Wayne?
What's that?
They weren't wearing a mask.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no. Oh, and here's Governor Cuomo. I recognize that guy. I have an idea. He should start a task force to figure out how to deal with the Shetland pony-sized rats that are running around Central Park in New York City. Maybe he and his Rocky and Bullwinkle co-star, de Blasio, can figure out how to take care of that pandemic. So now these two lowlifes making headlines because they're like, we're shutting it down. That's it. We're done. Now, Wayne, I got to tell you, Tracy might be onto something here. If G4S is being used to enforce the rules where you can't have anyone in your house that doesn't live here, maybe we got the wrong lowlifes making headlines for today. What do you think?
Well, there's so many of them. I
know, right? Like shooting fish in a barrel.
I mean, you can just reach up and grab, and there's one.
I know. Well, that's why I say this show writes itself. Now, I know you people are thinking, oh, I don't know. This seems awful professional. Yeah, not from my end. Not really. This show writes itself. You can get up every day, and there's somebody else that's vying. Oh, Wayne, I got to ask you. You're a former engineer, right? Packaging engineer. You know math. You know slide rules and protractors and all the rest of that, right?
Yeah.
So let's say he's from New York, so he's going to win the Emmy. So Governor Cuomo wins the Emmy, right? And his sister Christina will be there in the audience, so you know the people over at the Circus News Network are going to cover it, right? Christina will be there to help cover it. In case you missed the interview with Howard Stern, he said he was responsible for 3 brothers and a sister. And clearly his sister was Christina, who's the host over at the Circus News Network. But imagine this. Everyone's gathered around. So he wins the Emmy. They've managed to strip the audio, right? Wayne, they call you and they go, Wayne, Mr. Backend Service, could you strip the audio for me? So they got you to strip the audio. You strip the audio. Now, believe it or not, he's won a Grammy. So he's standing there in front of the fireplace, Wayne. Here's my question to you. He's got the Emmy in one hand. He's got the Grammy in the other. How does he decide? What's he going to do to make room? Because we sent him a very, very stylish, a very handsome, suitable for framing certificate when he won the Low Life's Making Headlines last time. He's he's got a dilemma. What do? You got your Low Life's Making Headlines certificate. Where are you going to put the Emmy? How are you going to clear off a space for the Grammy?
Well, my thought was when we turned around and sent him this certificate,
yeah,
I'll just give him a layout and a plan.
Oh, see, Wayne, you're a giver. You're always trying to help people, Wayne. That's what I know about you. That's a great idea. Maybe he could just, I think what the thing would do is just take a picture of a hearth, right? Just to have a general idea. Take a picture of a hearth, and then that'll give us where he can put the Grammy, where he can put the Emmy, and then the Low Life's Making Headlines, right? Now, he gets his Low Life's Making Headlines because he says, how about taking some personal responsibility? And he's a Hall of Famer. He won the award because all we asked was, how about taking some personal responsibility of sending all those people that eventually passed away to a nursing home? Now, you might be going, well, Bri, what? Well, great. I get that Low Life's Making Headlines, but why does Newsom get a Low Life's Making Headlines? Right, Wayne? That would be a viable question.
Well, they both of them have basically come out and said we're going to ban Thanksgiving gatherings.
Ooh. Not terribly thankful for Thanksgiving,
if you notice in the graphic, they're there peeking through the windows.
They are.
I don't suggest they peek through my window.
I don't think so either. And here's the thing.
It.
I think Newsom is taller than Cuomo.
Yeah,
Cuomo must be standing on a peach crate to be looking in a window. I think he's standing on a peach crate. But in my mind, right? In my way. So what you're saying is, Wayne, you don't need an assault weapon with a high round magazine capacity to defend your turkey this Thanksgiving?
No.
And I'll bet you your wife makes a stuffing that's to die for.
Hey, I make the stuffing.
Right? Oh, you make the stuffing. All right. Well, you make this. So that's the trade-off. You make the stuffing. Okay,
I make
good.
The stuffing.
I'm
it's
good
an
with
old secret family recipe.
Ooh, secret family recipe. Very nice. Save me some of that for our meeting next week. That'd be great. All right. So here's the thing. Gavin Newsom gets the award in my book. Right? He's closing everything down. But once again, we talk to all the bad guys. If you do something that you'd rather not be televised, somehow transmitted across social media, everyone has a camera. You're an asshat, not because you broke your own rules. You're a politician. We expect that. We've grown accustomed to expect from the professional gaslighters, right, to break the rule. We know that you constantly act like you're above the law. The rest of us, we're all beneath that. No, you get the award because, of course, there was a camera, you dope. There is always a camera in the surveillance community that you're so excited about. There is always a camera. So here's my news bulletin to Newsom. Don't come out and say, oh, I apologize, we were outdoors, when we have a picture of you indoors. It just proves my point. You're a professional gaslighter. That's all I'm saying. Wouldn't you agree, Wayne?
Absolutely.
Professional gaslighter. That's it. All right, we're going to do a quick little thing. Hold on right here. When it comes to your critics, why not let them have it? You're listening to the Brian Brawdy Show here on RadioBri.com. That's right. When it comes to your critics, that's why I've always loved the word counterpunch, Wayne. When it comes to your critics, it's just about time to bring your counterpunch. All right, Wayne, I know we've got a little something to do, and then a little something to do, and another little something to do, all before we get to the top of the hour. Why don't you go ahead and cue it up? So the phone lines are tied up, are they? Well, you're welcome to leave us a message. And because your voice deserves to be heard, we just might play the recording on air. So sit up straight, take a deep breath, belt it out, and let us know what you're thinking. Yeah, you know what, Wayne? I got to ask you. All I've been able to think about is your ancient family secret. Does it have onions, your stuffing?
Yes, it does.
What, you checking the recipe card? It has onions. See, I don't like onions and stuffing. Right? And can I just give you a little aside? I don't like it when there's too much celery. It's like chewing gravel, for God's sakes. I don't like extra onions and extra celery. I just don't. But can I trade you? I'll give you a little secret.
What's that?
If you're inviting a family over, make a pot that doesn't have extra celery and onions. Lead with that first.
We don't put extra and extra.
You don't put, oh, there you go. See? Well, what I do is I go, look, make a tray of that and lead with that first. And everyone goes, oh my God, this stuffing is horrible. That leaves all the good stuff for me. Right? That's what I'm saying. This whole lockdown thing, I think you and I talked about it last week. One of the most deadly nights of the year for law enforcement, responding law enforcement people, is Thanksgiving evening. Right? People sit around, the family members get on each other's nerves. Your wife took the last drumstick, so now your brother-in-law is all ticked off. Right? It's the most deadly night responding for the family fights. Family fights. So I got to tell you, there's something to this COVID thing. Got to tell you, not any fighting at my family. That and lead with the crappy tasting stuffing first, right? Make sure everyone gets a full on that, because then they go, oh, man, I couldn't take any more of that. You got to let Brian look at him just going to town on that stuffing. That's how we do it, just so you know. All right, Wayne, what do we got up next?
All right, this is something new.
Oh, great.
So we'll just run with it, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, not with scissors. In case you're listening at home, don't run with scissors. Welcome to the backwaters of Brian's brain.
Wow, talk about being up a creek without a paddle.
I guess you could say I'm of two minds. Conversations between me and my comfort zone, or as I like to call it, the siren's call of sabotage.
Hey, I'll speak for myself. You know, it's not all about you, Brian.
Split personalities? Oh, yeah. I got 'em. Help me.
Well, it's in the stars, Mr. Smarty. After all, we are a Gemini.
It's more like spelunking the deep recesses of skepticism, negative telegrams from the nooks and crannies, craziness from the crypt.
Hey, who are you calling crazy? And when do I get a say?
It's my show. Calm down. It's not like you don't have enough of an open mic in my mind. Go away.
I have a qualm with that.
That's a shocker. Do you ever take a vacation? I could use a break from the parasite of pessimism, the dim view from the dark side. You're like an evil echo ricocheting around my skull.
Nobody puts baby in the corner. You'll see.
How do you turn this thing off? There's got to be a kill switch. Noise-canceling headphones for your head? If only. I'm waiting on Amazon to deliver those noise-canceling headphones for your head. Look, if my version of a lockdown means I don't have to put up with that voice that's constantly second-guessing me, you ever have that happen? Give us a call if you want, 833-MORTAL1, 833-667-8251. Easy for me to say. You're welcome to text us at that number as well, or send us an email. What is the email? Oh, that's right. Brian at Radio Bry. Brian at radiobry.com. Give us a holler and let us know. Are you tired of that little voice telling you you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not fast enough, you're not smart enough, you're not capable enough? So I think we'll have a future segment, Wayne. And I got to tell you, I love figuring out how to do it, because
this is all right. Wait a minute. What's going on? I didn't authorize this.
Oh, sure. Just be quiet, would you? So I'm waiting for a lockdown of that little voice, so I don't have to keep putting up with it day in and day out. It's like working like a speed bag.
Who you calling a speed bag?
Right? I can't. I'm thrilled. But in any event, that's one of the new segments that we're going to be working on through the rest of this holiday week and into December. We just wanted to give you a heads up and let you know that's what was going on. All right, Wayne, I think, oh, look at this. It's almost 10 till. We're running to our replay of the Mortal Up Minute for today, because I'm looking forward to kicking this around again. 95% of the world's problems stem from a widespread pandemic of toxic sensitivity, where our ears, overly tuned to be triggered, take offense and outrage to damn near everything. Imagine for a moment you're headed to the South Pole, dead of winter. You do anything you could to dress warm, cocooning yourself to prevent frostbite and freezing. Heavy, hooded, down-filled jackets and pants, insulated mittens, waterproof boots, the thickest of socks to shield you from the frigid temperatures, right? You do what you could to trap your body's naturally occurring heat, keeping the frigid out, conserving your inner 98.6. Yet when it comes to weathering outside complaints and criticisms, we let it all in. I'm Brian Brawdy, reminding you that when it comes to slings and arrows, dress for success and mortal up. Because here's the thing. It'd be like us going to the North or South Pole. It'd be just like this. Last time I was in Yellowstone filming the wolves, 50, 45 below zero. It was so cold, Wayne, that you had to be careful where you exhaled so that your breath didn't freeze on the camera. So like if you were going to make a camera adjustment, you had to take a deep breath and then walk up, punch in whatever the camera was going to do, check your focus, check where the lens was going, and then step away or breathe away because you were afraid the camera settings would freeze. So it'd be like going back to a temperature that cold and deciding to continually take a polar plunge, right? Open my jacket, lift my shirt up, and go, okay, great. Just minus 50 below Fahrenheit, have at me. Nobody in their right mind, except for the group of people I was with, right? We figured out a way of making certain that we just would toughen ourselves, right? Which is why I come to think of it now that I say toughen yourself, Wayne, right? That's why the First Amendment is so important. That's why conversation is more important. These people over at Harvard, well, we can't have anyone that supported President Trump. We can't have them. We can't have free speech on our campus. The best way to beat back vile speech, the best way to beat back human vapidity is with free speech. Challenge their stupidity. Challenge the secondhand stupid wherever you can. So I get that whole aspect of it where you go, oh, you just want to toughen your skin. Absolutely agreed. But aside from that, way too many people running around with perforated skin. Way too many people so susceptible to secondhand stupid. And I think that's the major pandemic of today. Everyone's worried, well, I have to wear a mask because if somebody exhales and I walk through forget what CDC says. I know for sure. I got my fingers on the pulse. I know what's going on here. Right? Forget all of that. But if we're that susceptible, I just hope we one day create a mask or maybe earwax so that we literally wouldn't have to listen to these walking, talking Venus flytraps with legs, right? These mobile pits of quicksand that will do anything they can to derail you. Do anything they can to make sure the last thing you do is mortal up. And I'm simply here to suggest that just like we dressed for winter, let's just agree to dress for the slings and arrows of other people, not to let it in. Someone shows up on the door with a can of spray paint, says, oh, I think I'd like to graffiti your couch. You wouldn't let them in. So why do we let these brainiacs in to ruin our day? Why do we surrender our remote control? Why do we let them play us like a puppet? Candace, nice to see you. Right back at you, dear. Love the peace sign. Thank you for making the jump from the PM show to, as I like to call it, the midday medal to help beat back your Meshuggah. Thank you so very much. It is great to see you, as always. And we're just talking here about mortal up, right? Now, there's a part of me that agrees. Listen, I have a little confession. I do love watching people's heads explode, right? When people say, oh, I'm going to go apoplectic. God, hold up, please. Hold that thought. Let me get a Mountain Dew and some popcorn. Please, hold on. Time out. Don't go apoplectic yet. Wait. I'll say something in like 30 seconds from now that'll trigger you. Just hold the phone. Hold on. All I'm suggesting is that you and I don't have to be that way. You and I can go, wait a minute. I got thicker skin than that. I'll be darned if I'm going to surrender the remote control that controls my reality. Look, if you allow yourself to become outraged, you've outsourced that one thing. I don't want to go all Viktor Frankl, man's search for meaning on you, but you've outsourced that one thing that's yours and yours alone, the ability to decide how you're going to respond. When we get outraged, just admit you're outnumbered. And that the person that's guilty of triggering your outrage. And that's what I even love about the word trigger. Right? Wait, even the people running around, the woke, spoke, choked crowd, they even admit, right? A trigger is internal. Some incoming from the outside has to trigger. It's a part of me. I have to be triggered. All I'm simply suggesting is that you and I should have a spring cleaning for those things that trigger us. Let them say what they want. Crazy seems to love company. Let them say what you want. And don't have that,
Oh, I don't know, Bri. It's really bad, right? Other people's opinions. What if you get deplatformed? What if you get enough up tweets? What if you don't get enough likes on Facebook?
the hell with them. That's what I'm talking about. Is that at times it seems like we're fighting on two fronts. We're fighting that little voice.
Oh, so now I'm the enemy?
Yes, you're the enemy. If you have a voice inside of your own mind,
Oh, you can't listen to this guy. This is just craziness.
if you have a voice on the inside that keeps you from mortaling up, that's a part of the enemy. Because there's all kinds of other people out there that are absolutely counting.
Well, yeah, us alter egos, we do stick together. It's a net. The universe is a net, Brian. I tell you, it's a net. One big sheet. And we're all the alter egos. We talk. We're just like Google and Facebook and Twitter. We communicate. We know what's going on.
Yeah, that's just the thing. There's plenty of people in the outside world that want you and I to wave the white flag, that want you and I to surrender, that are perfectly happy with you and I running around with perforated skin. I just say, let's dress for success. Let's dress like we were going to the South Pole, the North Pole, Yellowstone in the winter. Let's just suffer the slings and arrows by having them ricochet off us. That's all I'm suggesting. That's all I've ever suggested when it comes to mortal up. All right, Wayne, what have I forgotten? Clearly, I've forgotten all kinds of things, but anything really important, anything really germane before we get ready to say goodbye?
Well, I was just reading the news.
Oh, yeah, please do. What's going on?
And de Blasio in New York City vows visible NYPD presence in the subway stations. At the same time, the New York City Police Union is basically telling the New Yorkers, if you go into the subway, you're on your own.
You're on your own. They call them strap hangers when we used to ride the subway. Because what is it, like a half a dozen people have been pushed onto the platform?
Yeah, there's been a lot of violence in the subways. So the union's saying, we're not going down there anymore.
We're not going down there anymore. So I have a question, though. Since de Blasio says, oh, well, I'm going to flood the subway, I'm going to telegraph what we're going to do. I'm going to flood the subway with cops, letting all the bad guys and bad girls, don't want to mansplain, the bad guys and bad girls know, all right, let's not work our evil in the subway, right? Everyone who wants to slam the president for telegraphing their moves. Well, the terrorists, if they know what we're going to do, they'll just find another way of doing it. Well, it's the same thing for de Blasio in the subway. Telegraph that the police are going to flood the subways. And then the bad guys and the bad girls, no, well, let's not go to the subway. Let's exact our revenge because we just feel like crap. So misery loves company because we feel like crap, Wayne. We want to make as many, because we have nothing to be thankful for this holiday. We want to do everything we can to spread the misery around.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Talk about selective outrage. Unbelievable. All right, we're going to get ready to run. I can't thank you enough. Whether you've decided to listen on YouTube or here on Facebook, thank you so very much. Shane, thank you for the call. Tracy and Candace, thank you so very much. Lee, thank you for stopping by to say hello as well. If you're listening to the rebroadcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, or Spotify, you could be. I don't know. You know where you're listening. But what I do know is it's an honor to have been able to spend some time with you today on the Brian Brawdy Show here at RadioBri.com. And as always, as I end every show, a thank you to Wayne. Shane, take care to you as well. You and your family. You and your two voracious eaters you call teenagers. And a very special thank you to Wayne for everything he does to get our show up and running, all the different things that he does in terms of the thumbnails and the special projects and everything else. Wayne, thank you so very much. We'll be back here tomorrow with an idea for you tomorrow on what we're going to be doing Wednesday and Thursday of this week. if we're doing anything at all. But we'll be back tomorrow to give you a sense of what we are up to. Thank you so very much for joining us. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your Monday.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Brawdy Show. Until next time, get out there and mortal up.